So, I was doing some grocery shopping this afternoon, and they were playing the song "Hey Ya" by what's their name? Outcast. If you remember, it's an old song. And anyway, so I'm kind of just doing my shopping, and the lyrics are playing, whatever it is, and it's like, listening, and I know this song. Everyone knows this song, "Hey Ya," If you don't, then I don't know where you've been. Maybe you don't know the title, but if you play it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it like a Polaroid picture, right? Anyway, so I'm listening and doing my shopping, and then there's a line over here that says, "Don't you want to meet your daddy? Oh oh, just want you in my caddy. Oh oh, hey ya, oh oh. Don't want to meet your mama. I just want to make you calmer. Oh oh, oh, I'm just being honest." And I heard this. I'm sorry to repeat it. Just want to make you calmer, and like it struck me. It was like, that's offensive, to be playing, and a few children around, whatever it is. Like, and I never really picked this up, and I look around and nobody else has picked up on it either, and I'm just like astounded. In fact, I went on my phone to look at the lyrics and see if that was really the lyrics, and I was like, oh damn it, I was right. So again, why is it that on the one hand I'm able to pick this up and see it and feel it, like feel the energy of it, and other people aren't? And that's because we're asleep, and for most, and desensitized, and we live in a very inappropriate world, a very immoral world, very corrupt world, and we are used to it, right? We actually think, this is reality, and this is just normal, right? And and so people it doesn't register for them. They don't feel it, they don't think about it, and even if they do, they just think, oh, that's a bit funny maybe, or like, or something or other, and they're not offended by it, which they should be. People should be offended. There's no question about it. And so, I was actually in a shopping mall, doing some groceries a few days ago, and they were playing that song. It's called I had to also look at the lyrics, I couldn't believe it. It's called "Sweat" by Inner Circle, a la 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 long. And he says, "Girl, I want to make you sweat. Sweat till you can't sweat no more, right? And if you cry out, I'm going to push it some more." So I said to the checkout lady, I didn't expect this response. I said, "Did you hear this song?" I said, "What's it about?" She says she thinks it's a guy raping a woman. I was like, I had my own insights, but I could be, just, I don't know, thinking it over too much, whatever it is. And so here she says it, and she says, "Yeah, I know this song." And I said, "But I've heard this song people play it at weddings, at bar mitzvahs that I've gone to, and bat mitzvahs, and everybody, comes along, I want to make you sweat, and when you cry out, I'm going to push it some more." And like, so, it's just, I know I'm not getting to my point, and, but this is laying the groundwork, I suppose, of what I'm trying to say in these just one or two examples of the world that we live in, okay, and not obviously just from music and movie, from politics, and there's a great deception going on. There's a great Truman Show at work here, a great Matrix, okay, at play here at work, okay, and it's designed that way. This planet, this existence, this dimension, if you want to call it. It's supposed to be that way in order for you to wake up from it, okay? So in its essence, on the small levels, and certain players who wish to play in the game, the Agent Smiths, they are in themselves evil in a sense, and destructive and malevolent, but at the same time, the overall need for the Truman Show is inherently not essentially evil in a sense. It plays the act of evil, which it needs to do, okay, or malevolency, that's such a word. That's what it's hired to do, okay? And in other words, it's hired to cast a spell. It's hired to put us into a dream world, okay? Again, put us into a game. It's like a game, right? It's a game in a way. It's basically you being able to find your way out of the maze through your own inner guidance, through your own self-divinity, through your own connection to the divine, to the truth, your relationship to truth. And so it's for you to find your way out of the maze. So the maze had to be created by something other than truth, okay, in this life. And so that's what it's about. And so there's so it's a game, okay. And so now, why is it that we can't wake up from the game? Why is it that, for example, when you wish to point something out to somebody that you love, or in a conversation with a friend about the Truman Show, the Matrix world, or whatever it is, on any level, right, you can talk about it, that they are not able to fully comprehend what you're saying, appreciate what you're saying a lot of the time. And even if they do see it from a minor perspective, a minor sort of, oh right, there is somebody that does control the media or something like that, or something or other, evil bankers or something like that, they cannot see it from the much broader, bigger picture, okay? And that's what I kind of wanted to talk about. Why can't we, until we wish to, see it from a bigger picture? So, like for myself, if I had to point this song out to somebody that's there, a mother with a child, and say, do you know what the song is actually saying in the lyrics? And she'll be like, oh, that's disgusting. What's his name? The singers or the writers of the song should be disgraced to themselves, right? They shouldn't be, or like, or I don't know, whatever. Let's just say a healthy response would be like that, to say, yes, this is completely inappropriate, and they should be ashamed of themselves. But they wouldn't see it part of the agenda, right, to bring morality down. They wouldn't see it part of the Truman Show. It's just a facet of the Truman Show. They wouldn't be able to see it from a much bigger picture, right? The whole matrix. And I'll get into that why as well. But from the psychological point of view. But so again, we can only see fractions of it. So I can point it out to her and she can see certain elements of it, but not a full picture. So again, it's like in the Truman Show with Truman. In the beginning, he can only feel something is amiss. He feels something isn't right. And there are some, like, you know, the satellite falls from the sky. If you remember, it's not a satellite, it's a light, really, because it's a stage, the Truman Show, and it falls from the sky and it lands on the ground and it says Sirius or something on it. And he walks up to it and it's like, well, that's so strange that fell out of nowhere. You know, it looks like a light or something. And he touches it, he's scared to, you know, touch it, and because it's random, it just falls out of the sky. And on the radio, they go further on to explain it was a satellite passing over that fell or something like that. So he thinks, oh, nothing of it. But there are sort of cracks, right? There are sort of clues along the way, again, in this mystery of life. And, you know, for Truman to question, to ponder, and to wonder why, you know, in curiosity, okay? And then to join further dots, to go further down it and investigate and discover, okay? And at the same time, he's realizing in himself how he has actually been deceived at the same time, okay? So there's a deception going on. So, you know, he's not getting anywhere without looking from the external deception, unless he looks within himself and realizes that he himself has deceived himself in many ways as well. He hasn't been genuine, and he hasn't trusted his intuition a lot of the time, or whatever. He hasn't been awake, and he's bought on the deception, right? Just by being a part of it. He's bought into it, and yes, he's been a good person, and it hasn't influenced him in a very negative way and made him a dark, narcissistic individual, self-entitled individual. But for most people, it does. Most people, it does infect them, and it does turn them to be self-centered, narcissistic, and self-entitled, whatever it may be, and very machine-like. So it does have a generally very darkened input on most people. But for Truman, it doesn't. But so most people that have been affected, like for myself, when I was drinking, you know, before my sort of awakening, right, I was drinking, boozing heavily, I was overweight, I mean, just eating very, very bad foods. I was just an angry individual. Didn't have any hope. I was just, you know, I was just not a nice person. I don't feel that I was a genuinely nice person in many ways, okay? And I had to understand that of myself, that I bought into this lie. I became a narcissist because of first my reaction to society and culture, right, and my rebelliousness against it, and also because of all the propaganda that it's piled into me, all the sexual innuendos that have been programmed and imprinted in me, and now it's not even innuendo, it's right in, it's straight out in your face. So I have been told, from my religion and from my upbringing and through media, whatever it is, that I'm, my mind has been polluted and overtaken. And so for myself, I've associated myself with that pollution, with that unworthiness, because that's often what it's really talking about. Again, you're only going to be worthy if you are worth $1 million or $1 billion, or if you have your company's listed in the Fortune 500 or something like that, or you're a good athlete, or you're a good musician, but very sexy. Sexy is really a big thing. If you're somebody that's sexy, then you've made it. In a sense, money's sexy, but there's something else. And so for myself, being well adjusted to the sick society and realizing that I was the one adjusting to the sick society. And so in order to find my own freedom and sovereignty, was realizing how I allowed myself to become deceived, right? And how I imagined myself to be, and the image that I had about myself and the value that I felt about myself, right? Because in the very beginning stage, I was just blaming Christoph from the Matrix and everybody else in the Matrix or in the Truman Show. Same thing. I was blaming all the Agent Smiths and whatever it is and pointing the thing. And then I realized, well, I'm not going to get anywhere because they're not going to take responsibility for it. So for myself, I have to take responsibility for me. And so essentially that's one of the main reasons one of the reasons is that we don't want to become aware of the con of the game, right? That we're in the metaphysical game that we're involved in. Because again, it's self-responsibility and then self-actualization and realizing your value, realizing that you're just not a puppet on a string, right? That you're just not somebody that fits into somebody else's plan. So it's self-value, it's self-love that wakes people up. And again, I'm jumping the gun here, but that's where most people don't want to go. They don't want to see that, and also don't want to be empowered because they don't have any confidence in themselves, right? So they buy the narrative and they willingly swallow the narrative, even though it's rotten, even though physically they can swallow it, even though it's gone off and it's stale, or it's, I don't know, whatever it might be. And so that's the one thing. There's many things as well. The fact it's very hard to comprehend that the world is not what you appear to be, right? It's very hard to understand that you've been tricked. It's not a pleasant feeling at all, right? And it takes a long time to come to terms with it. So again, it's not easy to point out to a woman in the shopping center about the song and saying, no, this is the intention of the Matrix, of the people of the Truman Show, right, of the Agent Smiths, in order to morally bankrupt us. Because the more we are bankrupt morally and ethically, right, the less we have divine connection and the less we have the ability to wake up, right? And so we fall for the what would I say, not just the lie, but the vileness, right? That's the inappropriateness, right? The destructiveness, okay, of something holy, right? That's what this game is about, folks. This is what this quest is about. It's a war. It's a spiritual war in a way, on that which is divine, that which is sacred, right? That which is holy, that which is meaningful, that which has purpose. That's what the war rages against, okay? And so again, if ourselves, we don't feel that we're valuable, then we're not going to feel. And so if I had to explain to this lady, no, this is the minions, she'll say, what are you talking about? What are you saying, right? And even now with this CV that's going on, and you point certain things out to people, they're like, so then what are you, okay, so then maybe they'll buy you, say, yes, the media does spin it a lot or whatever it is. They'll say, no, but maybe there's other things behind it all. Like there's other agendas. Who? What are you talking about? Or let's say 11/9, that Twin Tower story, whatever it is. It's like, so some people will believe in it. They'll say, oh, well, and it's also long ago enough for them to feel safe because it's removed from it. Oh, it was a small sanction of people that pulled it off or something like that. But they can't see the much broader, bigger picture, right? Because also at the same time is that if you don't have divinity, if you're not connected to the soul, you don't have imagination. And another thing is that this requires imagination, Okay, waking up and seeing what the whole picture, right, requires imagination. And that's what I find people are lacking. Imagination is so important, right? The possibility of the what ifs that are out there and how to connect the dots, right? And so, saying many points here, but again, so you can't point certain things out to people and expect them to understand it to the depth that you can, right? And at the same time, it's like, well, why are we pointing this thing, out to people, like at the same time, or whatever it is? Yeah, we want them to think, right? We want them to question, right, the narrative. We want them to wake up. But at the same time, again, what are we really asking of them? How reasonable are we really being about it? And so, but it must be done. I'm saying it should be done, but also to those who you can see are curious, right? Those who are fed up with the Truman Show, that want more for themselves, want more for the others in their lives, that want more for themselves. And so you can see it more so. Anyways, I wanted to also address the movie Revolver, right, where he talks about the con, right? This idea of the movie Revolver is that this Jake Green, it's hard to get into the whole narrative, the whole meaning of the movie. It's quite complicated. But basically, it's the ultimate con, the ultimate game that he's a part of, that he's playing in, the ultimate game, which is really about his ego, okay? Which is really what this is mostly about. The metaphysics of this world is not necessarily the Truman Show itself. It's the inner Truman Show, right? It's the inner matrix. It's the ego, okay? In that sense, it's the false self. In a way, it's the person who you believe yourself to be, or that the ego tells you who you are and who you should be, right? So you've got, there's a split going on. There's something else in you, okay, which is bizarre, which is very hard to come to terms with and work like, what the hell are you talking about? And so where have I been this whole time? Like, what's been pulling the strings? Who's been experiencing this? It's more of a harder the reality to come to terms with than the external reality. You follow? It's harder to come to terms with, because then you realize that you're having a breakdown. It's like, well, then who am I? And that's the hardest question to begin from. I mean, from ground zero, when you haven't got anything to hang on by. Who am I? It's like you're lost, in the forest late at night with howling animals around you, and you're fearing for your life, and you don't know your way out, and you don't know where you are, right? And you don't know how you got to where you currently are. You're lost, and it's overwhelming. You don't know who to trust. You don't know who to turn to, and that which you thought was your friend is your enemy, right? And that which you thought was healthy is unhealthy, right? And the direction that you were going in was the completely wrong direction that you were supposed to go in. So it's very disorientating, it's very overwhelming, and it's not for the faint of heart, folks. So it's the internal, a waking up, or, recognition or awareness that you aren't living through your own will, your own free will. You're not making decisions for yourself, something else is, and that's terrifying. I mean, that really is. And so again, it's not just the matrix out there or the Truman Show that we're involved in, but it's internally, right? I mean, the voice, the critic within inside ourselves, right? The self-doubt, unnecessary self-doubt, the self-regard, the self-harm that we cause, that we feel so unimportant or insignificant or unlovable or something or other, It's like, we don't want that. We'd rather feel pain, agony. We'd rather feel, I just want to stand, what's it, Rihanna? Just going to stand there and watch me burn, but that's okay because I like the way it hurts. We rather feel pain, right? We rather feel pain, agony, despair, darkness, depression that we do to feel alive, to feel our light, to feel inspired, to feel connected again, because there's a rottenness. So to wake up to that, to actually, do that healing, that inner healing, whatever, it's a big story. And so that's the con, is that it's you have been tricked. You are your own worst enemy at the best of times, right? You are the one, okay? And so in this movie Revolver, Jake Green is explaining to Avi, he's saying, he's explaining to him, how is it that he always wins at chess? Avi's saying to him, how do you always win at chess? Like, what's going on? And this is a metaphor for life. So he says, how do you keep winning? He says it's very simple. You do all the hard work. So he's talking to Avi with, imagine this is chess, and I just help you along. So we need to understand this is Agent Smith or the Matrix or Christoph from the Truman Show. Okay, if you got to pause this video and look who Christoph is to understand what I'm talking about from the Truman Show, then come back to this, and it's fine. So he says you do all the hard work. I just help you along. Okay, in a sense. The art is for me to feed pieces to you and make you believe you took those pieces, okay? Because you are smarter and I am dumber. In every game and con, there is always an opponent and there is always a victim. The more control the victim thinks he has, the less control he actually has, okay? So that's true. The more control the ego has, the less control the individual has. I'm saying the authentic self has, right? This gets very deep, and these are points that I want to talk about. The other one more so that I want to address. So this is less control. I, the opponent, just help him along. You see, Matrix helps us along. It says, here you go, here are your toys, here's your phones, here's your fashion, here's your narrative, here's your script, here's your jobs, here's your lifestyles, whatever it is, here's your dreams, here are your hopes. And get on with it, so they just feed it to us, and then, we do the heavy lifting, we play the game, and we, play Truman, and we play the Truman's wife, and whatever it is, and we wear all their clothes that they give us, and we sing all their songs, and we dance to it, and we watch all their shows, and whatever it is, and we believe all their lies, or all their dramas, and all their news stories, and whatever it is, and, and then we believe it, and we talk about it amongst ourselves, and we raise our kids with it, and something like it. So we do a lot of the hard work. I mean, they're working their asses off, you can be sure. But as a global community, we sweat from the brow to pay the taxes, right? And the taxes, we exchange our life energy, right? Which we need to do. It's been designed this way in order to make the money, right? So we're having an exchange of energy, and they're getting richer and more powerful, and we're getting poorer in a way, so to speak, and so on and so forth. So and I'm going to get into another talk about the energy, what is it that they want from us? What is it that the Matrix wants from us? What is it that Christoph ideally desires from us, which is for another talk. But so am I making sense here? Let me just catch my breath. Alright, anyway, so we do the heavy lifting. Right? We do all the acting every day. We give out the sweat of our brow, basically, as it says in the Bible, to this kind of life. We become part of their plan, the Matrix plan, Christoph's plan, right? And we don't live our own plan, like I've said before. And so anyways, that's not the point that I really wanted to mention. So he says, gradually he'll hang himself. It's rule one of the game, or con, you can only get smarter by playing a smarter opponent. This is very true, folks. The Christoph and the Matrix, if you want to call it, is very, very highly intelligent. And if it wasn't as intelligent as it was, and sophisticated as it was, then this game would be very, very easy to figure out. It would be very obvious. So they need to be sort of cutting edge. It needs to be so, not complicated, but so hard to grasp. It needs to be so tricky, right? It needs to be so layered, multi-layered, that it requires, like huge effort and huge dedication and huge sacrifice and huge commitment, and in order to work it out to a certain degree, the best that you can. But it's not easy, right? The opponent needs to be, not a lightweight. Okay, needs to be very, very sophisticated, and that's what it is, and it needs to threaten you. Right, in a way, because that's part of this evolution, right, that goes on. So it needs to threaten you, it needs to try and control you so you can find your own control. It needs to misdirect you so you can find your own direction, right? And it needs to be, so you get smarter by figuring it out. There's no question about it. You get smarter by figuring yourself out. You get more intelligent. You become more aware. You become more conscious. You become more connected, right? In a sense, while working it out. So it says over here, rule 1 of the game, you only get smarter by playing a smarter opponent. Rule number 2, the more sophisticated the game, the more sophisticated the opponent. Okay, that's exactly what I was saying. If the opponent is very good, you'll place his victim inside an environment he can control. which is the matrix, right? This world, as big as it's controlled, right? So you need to control the opponent. And in this world, we are controlled. We have a government. We have the media is controlled. It is all controlled. Okay, so the environment itself is controlled. We've been taken out of nature, right? We've been taken from the plants, from the herbs, from the medicines, from the whatever it is, from the ancestors, from the stars. We are now in confined boxes in our little environments and things like that, and with the environments are controlled. The traffic is controlled. The weather is controlled. It's sitting in your room with the aircon and whatever it is, and so he's saying the bigger the environment, the easier the control. Okay, so like the Truman Show, for example, if they confined Truman only to one street in his suburb, it would be too small. In fact, Truman Show was too small for Truman. It needed to be much larger in order to have kept the act going. Because if it was much more expansive and not just a small little island, right, he would have been able to go to Fiji, which was his dream to do, and meet the woman of his dreams, okay, and not think anything was suspicious. The fact that he wanted to explore and get out of the island was that when it brought into question, like, why is this resistance going on, in a sense? And that's when he started realizing. So if the Truman Show was a lot bigger, right, it would be much harder for Truman to have worked it out. So again, the bigger the environment, the easier the control. Okay, again, not just one street in Truman World, right? In Sea Haven, it was not one street; it was a suburb. But again, he outgrew the suburb very quickly. So the bigger the environment, okay. But this works. Okay, toss the dog a bone, find their weakness, and give them just a little of what they think they want. Consumerism, right? From food, from everything, from so many facets and areas of our life, we give them what we think we want. Porsches, right? Supermodels, ice cream, fast food, cigarettes, alcohol, pornography. Did I say that? Lifestyle, comforts, whatever it is. Superficialness. I mean, this is what the ego craves. Give them what they think they want. This is what we think we want, right? And pharmaceuticals, whatever it is, give them what they think they want, and it's not what we want, it's what we need, really. But so they're working on our desire. Okay, so the opponents, give them just a little of what they want. To give them just a little of what they think they want. Check. So the opponent simply distracts their victim by getting them consumed with their own consumption. So that's what Christoph does. That's what the Matrix does. It gets us involved in our own consumption, right? And we are consuming the planet. There's no question about it. Okay, I'm running out of time here. I mean, my space on my card here. So we consuming. We definitely consume. We're overly consuming. There's no question about it, right? We're consuming the future. Okay, so I don't have to go into all of that. I mean, you know what I'm saying about consuming the future. So Avi replies, the word snake springs to mind. He says, don't knock it. You only get smarter by playing a snake. So respect the snake, because you're not going to get any smarter if the snake, let's say, Christoph, the Matrix, is not playing it harder. I mean, it's not very smart. Okay. The bigger the trick, now this is very important, the bigger the trick and the older the trick, the easier it is to pull. You follow? That is huge. Why? Based on two principles. They think it can't be that old, and they think it can't be that big for so many people to have fallen for it. You follow? So coming back to that woman in the grocery store, and I was talking to her about this Heya song, and that perverse, that was the word I was looking for before, the perverse lyric, right? There's no ways that I can join the dots and connect the dots and show her how big it is, right? How big and how old it is. This is not just that it started 5 years ago or 50 years ago. This could have been possibly who built the pyramids, in a sense. A lot of the architecture, where did it come from? Where has this been going on from? Where has the world been directed from? How long ago how big is this? How big is the Matrix? How big is the Truman Show? Right? you can't conceptualize it, and it's so old, right? So you were born into it. You were born into the Truman Show. It didn't spring up 5 years ago, 10 years ago. No, it's ancient. It's ancient. For eons of years, of decades, centuries, who knows for how long. So it's very hard to comprehend and say, how far back does this go then, right? Because you don't have the imagination for it. Neither do you want to even think about this because it's too appalling. It's like, well, what the hell's going on here? What the hell's going on here in Morpheus, in a sense. So, and again, he says they think it can't be that old and that it can't be that big. And so many people have fallen for it. You see, this is the big thing. It's like when people are, sort of waking up with it and say, no, it's just me. Not everybody has fallen for this. That's impossible to think that everybody has fallen for this. That there's no ways, Jose's, that this is possible. I mean, like the professors, the experts, right? The doctors, the PhDs, you see the governments, whatever it is, the school teachers, the religious figures. What are you saying? Like, what are you saying? The bankers, everybody, they've been living their life this way since they were born, and they've all been playing into this, and they have no idea, right? They've all fallen for this con. You can't possibly tell me that can be the case. Again, so it's bewildering. It's like, Jesus, that's impossible. Okay, I need to stop this. I'm running out of time. I have to upload. Anyways, I'll see you shortly, folks. Okay, folks, I lost a little bit of my momentum there because I needed to just free up some space on the phone. So, yeah, let's just get back into it. When the opponent is challenged or questions, it means, okay, so this is moving further on. So again, so many people have fallen for it. It's just like, again, it just seems impossible, okay? That it's so old and so many people have fallen for it and have been living their life in accordance to it, right? In accordance to the deception, right? It's like, that is also huge because it's like, well then, what's going on here? Who knows about this? Who understands this? Who's using their own free will? Who is not becoming just fragmented, in themselves and moving only in the ego, living through only the ego? Who is genuine, right? Who is still connected to their heart, to their spirit, to nature, to the divine, in a true sense of the word? Who is it? And so that's very, very hard to come to terms with, and so this is the journey. This is the nature of this reality. It wouldn't be otherwise. It's not just happenstance that there happens to be this Christoph, right, involved in, messing around with things. It's supposed to be that way, okay? Again, for one's own awakening, for one's own courage, for one's own faith as well. It's a huge thing. This is faith. It's like, right, now that you understand the metaphysics of it, right, it's not just happenstance, it's not just random. There's a plot to the narrative, right? There's an intention to the narrative, okay? And what's the narrative based on? It's based on love, because it's based on your own well-being, right? And your own self-actualization, your own self-discovery, realizing your courage, your strength, your virtues, all right, your self-belief, okay? You're not a member of the crowd, whatever it is. You've come into this existence and you're separated in the flesh, in the body, in the mind, whatever it is, by your language, by your identity, etc., by time, whatever, all the boundaries that are put into place in order so you can self-discover, right? And it's through love. So it's based on love, and so that's the reward, that's the benefit, right? That you have to work with, which is great. I mean, if it wasn't for love, then it would be the whole thing is completely just, a bad joke. it's narcissistic, it's vile, it's just constant torture, it's torment, it's hell, basically. And that's not the case. That isn't the case at all, whatsoever, right? But you do go through those phases, and even for myself, you go through these awakenings where you do feel that it's like there is no plot. It's just a bad deal. It's just, I don't know, the tables are tilted, folks, is what his name says. What's that comedian who passed away not so long ago? He says the game's rigged, the table's tilted, folks, or something like that. George Carlin, in his speech about the American dream, he says you have to be asleep in order to believe it, or something like that. Again, so here, and then I'll start ending off on this. So he says over here, back to Revolver, he says, for so many people to have fallen for it, eventually the opponent is challenged or questioned. It means that the victim's investment, it's a little bit complicated, and thus his intelligence is questioned. Again, nobody really wants to admit that they've been deceived. It's not pleasant. It's not, oh, you're stupid. No one wants to know that. No one wants to admit mistake. No one wants to admit folly. No one wants to talk about their shadow. No one wants to talk about their weaknesses or their fears or their insecurities. Everyone thinks they're lovely individuals. They really are. People that I speak to, it's like they literally have the most, but in an unhealthy way, towards their ego, that they are the most like good. They really think they're good people. And for myself, anyway. So, but when you realize that, okay, you've been tricked, and that you're not stupid, but that you've been fooled and you've been taken advantage of. And you fell for it. You fell for it. The joke's on you. No one wants to admit that. It's because, again, there's grandiosity. And the grandiosity from the ego's point of view doesn't allow for that. So it's like, dare you say this to me, that I've been somebody else's fool, I've been played for a fool or something like that. Like, dare you say that to me, right? So it's grandiosity. Humility says, you're right, maybe when humility apologizes and humility says, you're right, I don't know what I think I know, right? And humility is the divinity in a way. Humility is realizing that you're not bigger than who you think, then you get what I'm saying. I don't have to elaborate on that. I'm running out of time. So no one can accept that, not even to themselves, that they're not as grandiose, that they're not Mr. Know-it-all or Mrs. Know-it-all. They're not, the divine snowflake or something like that, or like, or something or other, because we have this massive sense of self-entitlement and whatever it is. Anyway, folks, I want to start ending off. So Avi says, check, because they're playing chess, and Jake Green checkmates him. He says, Avi says, I'm not playing you again. And Jake says, you'll always find a good opponent in the last place you'll ever look. And so where's one of the greatest opponents? Again, I'll end off on this. Where's the greatest opponent? It's here. It's inside. It's internal. What's it? Your enemy will hide in the last place you'll ever look. Inside. Right? It's the ego. And that's what it is. And so that's where, amazing. Internally, we're in conflict with ourselves. Okay, we're in war with ourselves, and we disassociated from the true self. Okay, the contradictions, as Terence McKenna says, we'll look at the stars, we'll look at the atom, we'll look everywhere else, but we won't look inside, because in truth that's where all the contradictions lie. And so it's internal. The war wages within ourselves. Where's your willpower? Where's your self-control? Where's your free will? Where's your own faith? Where's your love for yourself first and foremost? And then, outwardly at the same time, inwardly. But okay, so I'm tired now and it's enough. But I think you get the point of what I'm saying, right? Is there anything further that I can say? No, I think that's all for now. Well, just that we live in this time, folks, where this great awakening is happening, right? Not globally, right, but internally. And the time that we are in now, the energy is supporting us more than I can imagine whenever it was in the past, right? It's now. And so if we can ride this wave and we can ride this frequency, right, and this energy and this transformation, right, it will bring up a hell of a lot for us and a lot of fears, but a lot will be disclosed, right? A lot will be revealed. A lot will come to the surface. A lot of the dots will be connected, right? A lot of this game will be figured out, right? If we wish to figure it out, right? And it's up to us to do that. So we need the courage and the commitment, right? And the confidence to go forth, continue working it out, continue excelling, right? Continuously growing, continuously evolving, right? Moving towards love, moving towards truth, moving towards goodness, meaning, you know, and all those things. And the time is now, folks, absolutely. All right, we'll chat soon. Take care.